Well, John Boehner, this is so interesting to watch. You've got people like Jeb Bush and Newt Gingrich and, the supposedly rational voices, although Jeb Bush did sign that letter back in 1998, or the whole, Project for a New American Century thing about, let's go take Iraq's oil fields. That worked out real well. And Newt Gingrich has his own long list of weirdnesses. But anyhow, the supposedly rational voices of the Republican Party are saying to the crazies, the Ted Cruzes and the Tea Partiers in the House, don't shut down the government. I mean, even the Chamber of Commerce, don't shut down the government. Don't default on our debt, just as a way to kill off Obamacare, because they're all like, we're going to hold our breath until we turn blue if you don't defund Obamacare. And that's really kind of what it's boiling down to. It's really, really amazing. So I wanted to get a rational conservative perspective on this. David Seelig is on the line with us, conservative commentator and pro-business advocate, founder and president of Seelig & Associates, the website truetaxhelp.com. And in New York City. Hey, David, welcome back to the program.
Tom, thanks for having me on. It's a real pleasure.
It's always nice having you here with us. David, first question. If Obamacare is going to be such a disaster, then why don't the Republicans, I mean, it's about more than 50% of it's already law and already in effect, and people seem to like that. The other half is what they say is going to be a disaster, the individual mandate. It sets up on October 1st. It goes into effect on January 1st. Why don't Republicans push to make it happen even faster so that the disaster happens and the president can have egg on his face, sooner?
You see, that's why I keep saying you need to run for either Congress or Senate, Tom, because it's hard for me to refute that type of logic. There's a lot in Obamacare that is good. Unfortunately, there's also some that is very bad. I just want your listening audience to know I'm not in favor of closing the government down just to effectuate something that they want. Alternatively, I'm also not in favor of just spending money willy-nilly. My biggest issue with Obamacare is that the extrapolations that the government, the authors, the promoters of Obamacare have made are really cut from whole cloth in many cases. They rely upon these estimations of future earnings, and I don't think the dollars are actually there, particularly when they keep tinkering with it.
So you think the Bush Great Recession and the damage of Reaganomics is going to stay with us longer than the actuaries at the Obamacare office are saying?
The idea of the healthcare exchanges is an excellent idea. It fosters great competition with the insurance companies and such. I'm a little concerned about the numbers that they said of actual uninsured Americans. I disagree with them, and I will tell you why. The 2010 census included illegal aliens, and they used those illegal aliens when they were determining how many people did or did not have insurance, and that's just a fact. And, to me, that's cooking the books. That's not being honest with the Americans.
So, in other words, when we say we have 45 million people without health insurance, 10 million, 12 million, 15 million, whatever you want, should be deducted from that number because they're illegal aliens. But, David, they're here. They're human beings. Most of them are not going away any day soon. And, in fact, in all probability, they're going to have a path to citizenship. So why not count them?
Obamacare doesn't cover them. They are an excluded class. He kicked them straight in the patoot.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. You're absolutely right that they can't sign up for an exchange for Obamacare unless they're a citizen. You're absolutely right on that.
You got to go back to the emergency rooms. He didn't solve the problem.
You don't have to do that, though. But that's the thing. Bernie Sanders got 10,000 Obamacare clinics. One of my daughters runs one of these things or helps run one of these things in Portland, Oregon. And these are comprehensive medical facilities that do everything short of ER and surgery. And they're largely free, and they do serve illegal immigrants.
Well, there's no free lunch, kid, and you know that. And the fact of the matter is he used these people to count them, and then when he was done using them, he threw them out. And they should be able to treat these people, but they're not. They are saying, They're not even saying get in the back of the bus. They're saying you can't get on the bus.
No, they're saying go to the free clinic.
No, they're saying go to the emergency rooms, and you and I both know it, and they're going to bankrupt the hospitals and run the costs up.
No, check out the free clinics, David. That's why they're there. They're the safety buffer for two groups, and Senator Sanders is pretty clear about this when he put this into the legislation. Number one, for rural people who don't even have access to a nearby hospital or comprehensive medical settings, and number two, for populations of people who may not be eligible under Obamacare, which would include things like people who are visiting this country legally, people who are visiting this country illegally.
That's a great way of putting it.
Well, there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, I have used medical services in Germany, England, and Australia, and I'm not a citizen of any of those countries. Every country has to have a way of dealing with tourists, or be they legal or illegal. I mean, I was legal in every case, but arguably, whatever. Every country has to have a way of dealing with those people. And
I agree with Thom Hartmann. I agree with you 110%. What I disagree with, though, like I said, is the way they were used, manipulated, taken advantage of, counted to make these figures.
Well, let's stipulate that you're right, and that some
these Americans are uninsured when in fact they were not, and then to turn around and back end and say, but these guys are out.
Okay, well, let's
but now you're out.
Let's stipulate for a moment, David, that you and your numbers are right in that, and that Obama was a really, really wily politician, and getting Obamacare through by saying 40 million uninsured Americans when actually it was only 30 million happened.
Right.
That's water under the bridge. What do we do now?
Yeah, that's a compelling question. I mean, I don't think we should close the government. What I do think is we have to look at these figures critically, and I don't think we should depart from generally accepted accounting standards, because the figures that they're making, the anticipated income, what they think they're going to make from taxing tanning salons, for crying out loud, is so astronomical. These good intentions, these rose-colored glasses, they sound great until you try them and they fail. Now, I don't want the American people to fail just because I may not support the president.
So
Commander-in-Chief.
What's your solution
now?
What's your alternative?
Oh, as far as the mandate and such?
Well, yeah, or Obamacare in general. I mean, if you
don't... I personally would like to scrap the program. I would like to make insurance less restrictive. I don't understand why an insurance company in New York cannot sell insurance in another state. I don't think that's fair to the consumer.
Because each state has insurance commissioners that represent the interests of the people of those states.
It's amazing. You go
it's
to
the
one
10th Amendment.
Insurance is reasonable, and you go to another, and it's bad. I'm also opposed to community pricing, and where you can have an individual who has just gone to rack and ruin for any number of reasons.
So what you're saying, David, is that whatever state has the lowest common denominator, least restrictive, least consumer-friendly rules should become the national standard.
Ooh, I don't know about all that.
Well, that's how it worked with credit cards. When we went away from statewide credit card commissioners to a national system, they all moved to North Dakota because they have the least restrictive rules.
Yeah, I got to tell you, the credit cards, well, you and I have spoken about that before. I mean, that is modern-day slavery. I don't care how you look at it.
Yeah. I don't want that to happen to healthcare. Anyhow, David, we're out of time, but you make a very interesting point that Obamacare was sold using census figures, which include illegal or undocumented people, but then it doesn't cover them. That's fascinating. David, thank you for being with us.
Hey, thanks a lot, Tom, and thanks for listening.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.